Hello everybody and welcome back to week 7 of the NFL season. Today we're going to be going over the top stacks of the week. So this is specifically just GPP type plays. In these large field tournaments, you need to be stacking every single week. People are not stacking enough, especially doing like double stacks to where you have your quarterback, you pick 2 other pass catchers to go with your quarterback, and then you also should be always bringing it back with a player from the other team as you're trying to capture all of the upside within games that shoot out. And so today I'm going to be going over my favorite stacks. We'll start off with probably just the most chalky game this week, but I still think you should have some exposure. And that is the Chiefs-Titans, Patrick Mahomes. I think my favorite stacking pass catchers with Mahomes are going to be Tyreek. You know, assuming he plays, I think he's playing. If you go Tyreek, I like also stacking Darrell Williams in there. I do think it's fine stacking your running back with Mahomes as he's getting like 5 targets. Right now with Edwards-Helaire out. I think it won't be that popular to have Mahomes and Darrell Williams in the same lineup, but I like it. So you can go Patrick Mahomes, Darrell Williams, and Tyreek. And then my favorite bring back in this game is AJ Brown. I know he's been dealing, I don't know, he's had like some stomach issues or something, and it sounds pretty serious. Julio did injure his hamstring. The Titans are beat up all over the place. But as long as AJ Brown gets rid of this stomach bug by the time Sunday comes, it's like him and Derrick Henry are like the only dudes there. So I like either playing AJ Brown or, of course, the big dog, Derrick Henry. Those are the only 2 people I'm going to be using on the Titans. And if you go like Kelsey, see, I don't ever like stacking Mahomes with Tyreek and Kelsey, as Kelsey and Tyreek just eat into each other's upside too much, especially at their expensive price tags. So if you go Kelsey, I actually prefer to go Hardman. If Kelsey has a big game and that takes away from maybe Tyreek having a big game, Hardman can catch a long touchdown, and because he's so much cheaper than Tyreek, he could still pay off his price tag at $4,300. He doesn't need to have a Tyreek 30-point game to be in an optimal. He can score like in the 20s and be in a winning lineup. So I like stacking Kelsey with Hardman or Darrell Williams, but you know, it's up to you. I prefer Tyreek to Kelsey this week, as the Titans have actually been pretty solid at limiting tight ends. Not that you can limit Kelsey by any means. I think I prefer Tyreek going against this atrocious Titans secondary that got even more banged up this past week. They lost Caleb Farley, had an ACL, and then Christian Fulton went down. So like these guys are rolling. I don't know who is going to guard Tyreek. This could be an absolute Tyreek explosion game. So that's the Chiefs side of the ball. And the other side of the ball, the only player I'm stacking with Tannehill is going to be AJ Brown. We've seen Derrick Henry go off every game, and that's, if you look at Tannehill, Tannehill scored the most 23 fantasy points against Indy this entire year. If Derrick Henry has a big game, it's unlikely Tannehill does. So if Derrick Henry is going to be popular, this is some leverage off of that. This is one where I won't be double stacking. I'll just be, because if Julio is there, you could double stack Tannehill with Brown and Julio, but I'm not playing these 2nd and 3rd string receivers that the Titans have. They all just rotate in too many times. AJ Brown can just see so much, probably like 40% of the target share this week. They should be trailing. If he's out there, I definitely see him getting 10 plus targets. And then if you're bringing it back, of course, you definitely want to bring back a Chief playing the Titans. And so any one of Tyreek, Darrell Williams, Hardman, or Kelsey, I, again, prefer Tyreek or Darrell Williams. But that's just, it's whatever you prefer. But I do think that in all your lineups, you should have at least one player from this Titans-Chiefs game. The next stack that I'm going to talk about is going to be Lamar. And Lamar, I don't think you stack with 2 just because he runs the ball so much. I think you just pick Mark Andrews or Marquis Brown. You know, it's whichever you prefer. Because he's also going to be extremely low owned this week, I think people are just seeing him drop these long touchdowns and they're just getting frustrated. But Marquis Brown is still playing at a pretty high level. You know, he's caught a touchdown in almost every single game. He has 5 on the year. He's been very consistent for a player that everyone thinks boom or bust. So I don't know, if I'm playing Lamar, I prefer Marquis Brown in this just like stack. And if you bring it back on the Cincy side, my favorite Cincy run back is Joe Mixon. I just think for his role, I mean, he's the complete bell cow in this Bengals offense. The receivers are good plays, but they just, because they're all 3 very good, obviously Chase is the best, but his price tag reflects that, and the targets all just get split around too much. Like Chase has been doing what he's doing this year on like very few targets actually. So, and Mixon is just getting so many targets and so many carries every game. Like he's the same price tag as Jamar Chase, but he's getting like 4 times as many touches as Chase. The next one, it's funny, I was talking about double stacking, and you should be double stacking a lot more often, but because there's so many mobile quarterbacks, now it's easier to get away with just like single stacks. But I think with Jalen Hurts, you could do a double stack with Miles Sanders and Devonta Smith. Or if Dallas Goedert actually returns from the COVID or IR, whatever he's on, you could go Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert's target share is going to increase quite a lot now with Zach Ertz going to Arizona. So, but Miles Sanders is one of my favorite running back plays this week. Nick Sirianni said they want to get him more involved, and as they should. He's very talented. There's like a couple weeks this year he's only had 2 carries. I do see him being more involved this game, and he catches balls. Like he sees quite a few targets out of the backfield. So I think it's fine if you pair Jalen Hurts. I wouldn't just do like Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders. I think if you play Jalen Hurts, you should at least play one of Devonta Smith or Dallas Goedert. My favorite tight end play this entire week is Darren Waller. I'm going to play him in all my main tournament lineups, and he'll be my highest exposure in like the 150 lineups that I make. The Eagles get torched every single week by tight ends. They're actually pretty solid against receivers. They're Darius Slay, and I forget their other guy. But they just have been really good at keeping the ball in front of them. I can see Waller just getting peppered this week with targets. And like I say, he's my favorite tight end play this week. And I think in lineups, like if you stack up the Chiefs game, like I mentioned, like if you do like the Mahomes, Darrell Williams, Tyreek Hill, and run that back with A.J. Brown or something. What people also aren't doing enough is making like secondary correlation stacks. And this is my favorite secondary correlation, is playing Miles Sanders on Philly and Darren Waller on the Raiders. So if that game ends up going back and forth, I like Sanders on the Eagles side and Waller on the Raiders side a ton. All right, so now we'll get into a couple quarterbacks that I think you should be using 2 pass catchers with, just because they don't offer as much mobility as like Lamar and Jalen Hurts do. And that's Matt Ryan and Tua. So I think this is like one of my favorite sneaky shootouts. Both defenses are terrible, and both of these quarterbacks, you know, they're good enough to throw on bad defenses, and they have talented pass catchers on both sides of the ball. So I like, if you play Matt Ryan, you need to be playing Ridley. He's so cheap now. He's at 6,600. I don't think people realize how many targets Ridley's still getting. Like, look at like 8, 10, 11, 13. Then he was gone for personal reasons, and then the bye week. So he's averaging over 10 targets a game, but he just only has 1 touchdown, and he doesn't have that many yards to go with his targets. But he's going to have an absolute explosion week, and I think he can easily come against this Dolphins secondary. So if you're playing Matt Ryan, play Ridley, and then choose one of Pitts, who's going to be really low owned at the tight end position this week. Or I think you play Mike Davis. And I know that's an ugly play, but Cordero Patterson is just extremely overhyped and overblown. Cordero Patterson has just done a lot with the limited touches he's had, and Mike Davis is still getting, Mike Davis has had more touches than Patterson, but he just hasn't done as much with them. Like, look, he's getting he's averaging about 12 and a half, 13 rushing attempts a game, and he's getting around 4.5 targets every game. That's very good at 5,200. I don't think either Patterson or Davis will be popular, but if you had to pick one play, like Cordarrelle Patterson is what's his price? It's probably ridiculous. Yeah, 6,300. So Cordarrelle Patterson is $300 cheaper than Ridley. That's absurd. If you play Patterson, I don't think you're playing DFS right. So if you pick a running back on the Falcons, pick Mike Davis. Pitts is probably the better one to stack up with Ryan. If Ryan has like a 5 touchdown game, it could easily be like 2 to Ridley and 2 to Pitts. And then on the Dolphins side of the ball, I think Waddle, it seems to have the best connection out of the receivers with Tua. I mean, we just saw him finally have his breakout game against Jacksonville. 13 targets, 10 receptions. I mean, and 2 touchdowns. And now he gets to play the Falcons. He went from the Jaguars, and now he gets to play the Falcons. 2 amazing matchups for him. So I will be playing Waddle with Tua, and then kind of just like with Matt Ryan, I think you either play his tight end with him, who's the preferred play. So stacking Tua with Waddle and Gaskin, and my favorite run back, of course, is Ridley. But I think you can also swap out Gaskin for another low-owned running back play, and that's going to be Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin has a better rapport with Tua. Jacoby Brissett just, I don't know, when he was in there, they just didn't utilize Gaskin as much, but Tua likes throwing Gaskin the ball and checking down, and I think he's only had like an average of, 5 rushing attempts a game, but he's still getting, we saw 10 targets against Tampa Bay. He has he's averaging about 6 to 7 targets every game. That's very good at 5,300, and he still should have some of the goal line work. You can definitely pair him with Tua. It's not like a negatively correlated stack there. But definitely my favorite 2 plays from both sides are probably Waddle on the Dolphins side and then Ridley on the Falcons side. Finally, the last quarterback that I will be stacking is Justin Fields. So Justin Fields has not looked good at all this year, but he finally started running the ball against the Packers, that's what I thought he would do. With Damian Williams and Montgomery out, their game plan, they needed to start using him on the ground more, and they started to do that. I think that continues into this week. And now he gets to play the worst secondary he's faced all year. So I love stacking Fields with Robinson, who's in my top 3 favorite tournament receiver plays of the week. Allen Robinson is just too talented to be almost in the 4,000s. This guy has played with some bad quarterbacks in his career, and he's still had some massive games. There's nobody in the Bucs secondary that can guard Allen Robinson. Jamal Dean, when they played the Eagles, I swear had like 5 missed pass interference calls. I don't know what the refs were smoking that game, but Allen Robinson should be able to run all over him. And I think Justin Fields and him can finally get it together and have a good game here. And it's a very cheap stack. So by doing this stack, you can fit in like Derrick Henry, you can get in Tyreek, you can get in those like really good expensive plays, and you have like what I think is a solid stack in here. And then I think you run this back. My only Bucs player that I like this week is Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown is out, Gronk's out. The Bears have a solid rush defense, so I don't really like Fournette. And Jalen Johnson has been one of the best corners this year, and he should be on Mike Evans. Part of the defense that the Bears are weakest on is where Chris Godwin will be operating most of the time. And so, he's bound for touchdown regression. He scored the first 2 weeks, but then nothing since then. I think Chris Godwin sees the box, gets in the box this week. Again, with Justin Fields being more mobile now, I don't think you necessarily need to stack him with 2 receivers. You could do Mooney, because Mooney has had a really good connection with Fields. And that it makes your stack even cheaper. Like this allows you, with this playing game stack in this Bears game, let's say this Bucs game somehow turns into like the biggest shootout of the week, then it leaves you 6,000 remaining. Of course, when you put a defense in there, like you could even put in the Patriots against the Jets, you have 6,400 left. You know, you can get in like Darren Waller, you can get in Darrell Henderson, who's like one of the best running back plays, and you still have 6,200 left in the ARP. So Justin Fields just allows you to get so much into your lineup. But that's going to wrap this video up. I hope this video helped you pick out some good game stacks and then pair those game stacks with some of those low-owned plays in the video I posted yesterday. If you guys could just leave a like and comment your favorite stack of the week, it helps out the channel a ton. Please subscribe, and I will see you on Monday for the breakdown of the Showdown slate. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Monday.